Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining everybody for the top 10 whiskeys I have come across in 2025. 2025 was a crazy year for our hobby, filled with a lot of change, some negative news, but from my perspective, a lot of positives as well. Throughout 2025, I was able to find consistently great bottles throughout the year. At the same time, I also probably got less of the most sought after releases as I let the whiskey find me rather than me hunting the whiskey all the time. Yeah, maybe I lost out on some bottles, but in the end, when it comes to the list I'm about to show you, no regrets at all. All of these are absolutely wonderful whiskeys, and most of these you could have found on the shelf for under $100 and maybe even as low as $35. Curious what's in the list? Well, then stick around. Thank you for joining, whiskey friends. Let's kick off the show. All right. Well, let's just hop right into this here, first laying the groundwork for the rules. A, it had to be a bottle that I purchased in 2025. It also has to be a bottle that I purchased with my own money. No media samples can be put into this. And then throughout the year, we do grade all the whiskeys that we come across, and thus those grades help us then come up with this top 10 list. Number 10. These provided me one of the more fun adventures as I went around the country finding different single barrels. But I really love my time spent with the Horse Soldier 10-year. These ranged in proof mostly above 130, and to me, these gave me shades of the 14-year proprietors that were coming out of Lucky 7 just a few years ago. But absolutely loved the profile, loved the fruits and the oak that I was getting off of this. And sometimes these came across even older than 10 years. At $110, $120, these were a bit of an investment, but I myself went through about 5 different single barrels across the year as we got to compare them. Of all of them, I think the best one I got was the Veteran Select, if I'm remembering that correctly, and that one was Hazmat. Number 9. This one was a surprise addition late in the year to the list, but I am going to throw in there King's Family Distillery 10-year. If you're not familiar with King's Family, they're coming out of the Pigeon Forge area, and they bring in some great MGP. They were on my radar because of their weeded bourbons, but this 10-year one ended up blowing me away, particularly because of its uniqueness. It's actually got a predominantly corn mash bill, something that you'd associate more with light whiskey than you would bourbon, but how it was barreled in new oak, it is a bourbon. Very, very sweet and delicious, especially balanced with that oak. Number 8, we talk about this brand quite a bit, even doing a single barrel with them in 2025 and maybe headed there pretty soon. But throwing in the Copper and Cask, this is specifically the cigar blend whiskey, batch 10, 20 years old, and about 145 proof. Now, this one was a 15 barrel blend of Canadian whiskey, then finished in Armagnac and port barrels. Crazy part about this one was the price too. If you're familiar with Copper and Casks, those prices are always so nice. I think this one ran me back like $80, but it's buttery, it's syrupy. The grape on it from the finishing is so nice. And by the finish, man, it just explodes with this nice salted soft pretzel with a little bit of caramel sauce. Very, very good. And I'll be sad to see this one go. Number 7. All right. One of my favorite brands as well in 2025. Gonna put up batch 12 of the K-Luke blended straight whiskeys, coming in at 117.4 proof. This is a blend of Kentucky and Indiana bourbons. It does start to feel like K-Luke and Jonathan Masano over there are working with older casks as time has gone on. And that really showed itself to me in batch 12, where there is just this nice oak and leather. But then you also get these waves of stone fruits, such as cherry, combined with this custard and honey and all these notes I love from Indiana bourbon in general. And then by the time you get back to the finish, the rye spice ramps back up as well. So man, you're getting the sweetness, you're getting the rye spice, and you're getting that oak and that leather. Beautiful, beautiful blend. And coming very soon, we'll actually have a single barrel that we selected from K-Luke finished in sauternes. By the time this video drops here, you're probably going to see this come out within the next 2 weeks. But quite frankly, the best sauternes finished bourbon that I have ever had my hands on. You're also going to notice this theme throughout some of the brands within the top 10. But when brands hit our top 10 and we're talking to them throughout the year, that also means we're probably plotting some type of single barrel, much like with Copper and Cask, K-Luke, and a few others that are on this list. Number 6. There are actually quite a few contenders from this brand as they continue to get better and better with the blends, but particularly fond of this one. Coming from the Bourbon Junkies over there at Evernorth Spirits, got the Arctic Spirit 2. It's a 108 proof, 12-year blend of MGP bourbon and rye with a little bit of Green River. And if I'm correct, that Green River brought out a little bit of extra stone fruit to this mix that really does put it over the top. And while I also love the Night Stalker and Spirit Walkers, for me, this Arctic Spirit was the cream of the crop of all the blends this year. And earlier this year, we actually were able to go to Evernorth, released 3 barrels over the summer, and can't wait to get back there for some more collabs. Number 5. This one's going to be one of the most expensive bottles on the list, coming in at $200. But it was also my favorite light whiskey of 2025. And that's the Sealbox 20-year, coming in at 142 proof. Actually, the second hazmat on this list thus far. And while you get all the traditional flavors you might expect from a light whiskey, with funnel cakes covered in powdered sugar and that over-the-top sweetness, this one was one of the first light whiskey examples that I came across that actually had layers of different tropical fruits. Mango is the note that sticks out in my head the most. And that different depth and complexity on the light whiskey is what put this one over the top. I was also initially intrigued by it too. At a 20-year age statement, this becomes the oldest light whiskey that I've ever gotten my hands on. Number 4. Brings a lot of joy to my heart to be able to talk about this one and to have it this high on the list. But our friend Jason C. over at the Mash and Drum really dialed in the finish on this particular blend and did one heck of a job for his first release. So at number 4, we got Drum Key Spirits, a blend of 7 to 9 year Green River coming in at 123 proof. This is mainly a cherry bomb, but there's also this delicious vanilla cream, baking spices, buttery crust. And then by the end, those stone fruits start drifting into like all these different berries. I mean, at some point in the tasting, you're going to be getting like blueberries and raspberries and strawberries and then the cherries. Goes all over the place on the fruit spectrum. But then the finish is unrelenting and even brings some nice pepper and spice to the very end there. And that finish will pretty much just keep going for as long as you allow it. So congratulations to Jason, but you're setting the bar high. Also really fun that both Jason and the Bourbon Junkies are on this list this year. Number 3. At number 3, probably my darling of the entire list. Shout out to Brandon over there at Brutally Honest Bourbon for putting this one on my radar. Such a fun adventure. And at $35, I may have bought at least 18 of these, most of them as gifts for others. We're getting into the Silver Springs Rye. Lots of speculation online that this might be distilled over there at New Riff Contract Distilled, but that is just completely a rumor. It is a unique mash bill. 65% rye, 20% malted barley, and 15% corn. Same mash bill also used on Old Forester rye. But across these, you're looking at a cast strength rye ranging from 6 to 8 years for $35. This particular one gave me waves of cherry, strawberry, and cotton candy balanced with all the pepper and rye spice. Then there's this oak effervescence and even a little chocolate that comes up by the finish. We loved it so much that this is going to be another brand that we should have a single barrel dropping here within just the next couple weeks. And I'll tell you what, that single barrel might have even been number 1 on this list if I was allowed to put our own single barrels on these lists. Going to be an absolutely killer pick, and I can't wait to get that one out to the community. Number 2. All right, for these next 2, I am going to double dip a little bit here, but I've never had this situation happen before where these brands release a bourbon and a rye that both resonate with me at the same level. So I didn't want half the list to just be 2 brands. So I'll consolidate them together into the number 2 and the number 1 positions. So at number 2, we are going to be getting into Dietrich's Fine Whiskeys, both the 5-grain bourbon and the 4-grain rye. Been able to get my hands on a few different batches as they've dropped throughout Ohio. over the course of the year. The rye has ranged from 8 to 10 years, or very, very close to 10 years. I mean, this one's only a month off from 10 years. And then the bourbons have been between 8 and 9 years. This is coming from the Belle of Dayton in Dayton, Ohio, which is my hometown. And the profile on both the bourbon and the rye are both unique and delicious. And for someone like me who typically even has the turnoff when it comes to a pot still whiskey, a lot of the times I get this more minerality. I even describe it as licking a penny. Total turnoff for me. For me to have a brand like this in my number 2 position really does say something because it goes against most of my sensibilities. On the bourbon, got a lot of cherry and oak, along with waves of vanilla and even some cinnamon frosting. And then as you get into the finish, the citrus notes really pick up, as does the rye spice. But with its 5-grain profile, with the corn, the rye, the oats, the wheat, and the malted barley, you really do get all these interesting waves across the experience. And the rye is great as well. What I love about the rye, it's a 4-grain rye there. So it's got rye, corn, malted barley, but then wheat. The wheat in this mash bill is doing some very, very interesting things. I tend to get more pastry notes than I do on a typical rye. Think about cream horns or eclairs with that layer of custard and cream as well, but then also get very interesting fruits. On 2 of the ones I've gotten so far, I've detected a plum note. And then with that age, even though the oak isn't overbearing when you're getting into 9, almost 10 years old, it does give this nice layer of darkness and chocolate. And then the mouthfeel is so soothing throughout all that as well. So fantastic work from Belle of Dayton. I can't wait to keep following you and your releases as they drop around Ohio. Number 1. Well, it all comes down to this. But in general, this distillery crushed 2025. After years of mostly only getting 4-year bourbons and ryes, New Riff finally came out and really let their age statements run wild. Coming off the heels of last year's 8-year releases, they then dropped a 10-year rye and a 10-year bourbon through their high note collection. Both releases were 120.5 proof and really proved to be everything I hoped New Riff would become as these age statements got older. I think I do like the rye just a little bit more than the bourbon, but man, I go back and forth on this all the time. The bourbon is gorgeous with this velvety oak, fantastic mouthfeel, combined with this clove, honey-infused chocolate, and a little bit of orange zest. And then by the end of the finish, a little bit of that cherry note pops as well. Honestly, now that I go through this, I think I said cherry on like half of these. I was clearly in a cherry mood in 2025. And the rye has that lovely, lovely oak as well. Lots of similarities, except that fruit profile is like all tropical. Little coconut, little mango, then goes back into the citrus with the orange. And they got that clove and chocolate, just like I was talking about on the bourbon too. Fantastic, fantastic whiskeys. And the best part is when it comes to the Silver Springs, the Dietrich, and this high note, all of them are under $100. Silver Springs being $35, New Riffs being $90, Dietrich's being around $96, $97. So what was on your top 10 list this year? What was off this list that you wish was on it? And if you've had any of these, what did you think about them? And just remember, while you can always find more whiskey, you can never have enough whiskey friends. So take care of those around you, and we will catch you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody.